Alright guys, welcome to another beer review, and today we're going back over to the Wild Beer Company. I was going to call them Thornbridge for some reason. I think there's something about the crowns on the bottles that remind me of each other, but they're completely different designs and completely different breweries. But yeah, so Wild Beer Company, a brewery that I've been severely lacking on the channel, and it's criminal because I like what they do. I love the idea of like foraging for ingredients and aging beers that aren't necessarily aged, and like aging ingredients to put in the beers, and taking this culture and putting it into the beer, see how it plays around with it, the experimentation, and it must be so fun. But costly, I'd imagine, to be a brewery like Wild Beer Company. And with my very limited experience of them, I've had a very solid, satisfying experience at that. So today we're going to look at the Sourdough, which was brewed in collaboration with Hobbs House Bakery. And basically I think this is a Berliner Weisse, but they've used sourdough culture in there. And then they have fermented it in oak barrels, and you can't really see that because the lighting isn't too beneficial for bottles like this, but there's like nice little gunkiness on the base of the bottle. So yeah, I don't know, there's just something really satisfying about these sorts of beers. Even though Berliner Weisses aren't my favourite sort of sours, I opt more for like a fruited Goes, something like that. But yeah, so 3.6%, 330ml bottle. Beer and bread have been showing off the magic of yeast for thousands of years. We decided to combine the two. The old and the new, contemporary ideas and historical techniques and ingredients. A very special beer that combines all these things and more. 6 months ago, we even had a brewery. Before we even had a brewery, I should say, we started talking to Tom Herbert about the Hobbs House Bakery's 58-year-old sourdough yeast. See, stuff like that excites me. And whether we could use some to ferment a beer. Tom was excited, we were excited. After years of trials, each trial took a really long time to develop, we decided to loosely base the beer on a Berliner Weisse style, a historical sour beer style from northern Germany, but with a wild beer slant to it. We have used the 58-year-old sourdough culture and a little Brettanomyces and put the beer straight into oak barrels for its primary fermentation. It's been slowly fermenting, maturing and souring for 4 months in the barrels, and will continue to evolve and develop in the bottle. There is lovely, I'm not going to read the ingredients, but it's the perfect brunch beer to enjoy with smoked salmon and scrambled eggs. Scrap the salmon, and you've got me there already. And on some Hobbs House Bakery sourdough, served chilled. And I love it when breweries... I love collaborations in general. I love that idea of breweries working together to brew beers. But when they brew beers with like other culinary fields, or like pubs, or just anyone really, I love the idea of collaboration. And yeah, I've not even tried the beer yet, and I really want to try something from Hobbs House Bakery because I love that like marketing, like cross-platform industry aspect of craft beer and brewing in general, and the fact that it's like a contemporary twist on traditional styles, it's always interesting. That's my main thing. But yeah, lovely artwork as per usual. There is the crown. So without any further ado, let's get this opened and see what we get. Recording this on a lovely, slightly cool November afternoon. We'll be going to family to have a roast dinner in a little while. So I thought I'd kick off my Sunday with a nice sour beer. So won't pour all of the stuff in there right now. We'll see if it changes the beer somewhat when it's all in. But yeah, beer in a glass, and that to me is like cloudy lemon juice, or like lemon cordial. No head to speak of, dissipated really, really quickly. It is cloudy, but it's got a real sense of thinness about it as well. And yeah, lovely colour to it. This would be absolutely gorgeous if you did one of those really pretentious glassman, or is it Iceman pours. He says as he's friggin' reviewing his beer with a scarf indoors because it's a little bit chilly in the house. Funny enough, it's colder in the house than it is outside. Work that one out. But yeah, it looks like juice or like a cordial. like a bitter lemon, not as pale or white. But yeah, looks really interesting. So let's see what we get on the nose. Ooh. Yeah, you get big hint of sourdough bread in there. Almost like it's actually baking in the oven. Slight burnt edge to it, like the edges of the bread are slightly catching, but they're not burnt. There is a subtle lemoniness. Lemoniness, is that even a proper word? It reminds me of like, I don't know why I'm getting this image in my head right now. It reminds me of like a nice big schnitzel and you're putting loads of lemon juice on it. Well, not too much because then it just becomes an acidic piece of pork, which nobody wants an acidic piece of pork. And there's a name for your next band for all you proto-punks out there. But yeah, very yeasty as you would expect. That sourdough culture is coming through nicely. You do get that, I find, like sweetness from the Brettanomyces, although I've not had too much experience, so take that with a pinch of salt. It's got that slightly over brewed herbal tea character, which I do find a lot with Berliner Weisses especially. But yeah, very zingy, nice level of sourness there, not too tart or vinegary on the nose. Although there is that sort of like malt vinegar presence in there. Not really getting too much woody character or oakiness, but yeah, it's a very intriguing beer. It's got familiar aromas to it, but there's just little intricacies that I cannot put a finger on. So yeah, let's see what it tastes like. Cheers. Wow, that's really puckering. Was not expecting it to be like that. It's also like almost made my eyes water a bit. Yeah, it's a big lemony flavour. Very citrusy. Like as if you've like just got either a fresh lemon and you've squeezed it on your face, or the little lemon in the plastic like lemon shaped bottles that you put over food and stuff. And you've like got it on your lips. It's attacking the tongue. It's still quite strong. Usually when you take that first sip, it could be like a big slap around the face or punch to the cheek. But then that second sip, you've become accustomed to it. But this is still a puckering, powerful little beer. Really does pack a punch. Very light body, but that carbonation is just right. It's not a flat beer by any stretch, but it's not overly carbonated. You do get that breadiness. You can definitely taste the sourdough bread. Like you've just got a nice slice of it and you're just having it without any butter or anything like that, because a good bread can be just eaten without putting anything on it, I find. You know, I love just like getting a baguette, for instance, and just like ripping off a piece and just eating it. There's just something so satisfying. It's like with steak. You really do not need to do too much to a good piece of meat in general, because it's got all that flavour in there. So like the breadiness on this is really, really nice. Like spicy, almost. But yeah, lemony. I do slightly get that woodiness in there, but it's not too much. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the best before date on this one is. I'm not sure where you'd actually find it on these bottles. It doesn't say, but I'd imagine, like they were saying, this is, you know, it would change from month to month, like the longer you had the bottle. There's like a real sense of like zingy freshness to it. So I'm not sure if it has been, you know, filled in the last couple of months, or it's been sat on the shelf in booths where I picked it up for a while now. But it's so packed full of flavour. And that, like I was saying, that overbrewed bitter herbal tea or black tea flavour that I sometimes get from Berliner Weisses is there, but there's enough going on that it doesn't become an unpleasant flavour. A little bit of a white peppery character subtle oiliness on the back end. Very crushable, very refreshing. This would wake you up, do you know what I mean? Yeah, this would be perfect, you know, brunch beer. Lovely cheese board. I've got some oak smoked cheddar cheese that's been sprinkled with paprika downstairs. A few slices of slightly warm rye bread. A few pieces of cheese with that. You've got a beer that's going to accompany that perfectly. And yeah, I mean, it's not completely my thing, I won't lie. It's not the sort of sour beer that I would opt to go for on a regular basis. Like I was saying, I'm more of a fruited goes type sour drinker. But this is lovely. It is a little bit harsh in places, but not overwhelmingly so. So if you've had... I would never suggest this beer to people who are trying to get into sour beers. I think you've got to be a little bit accustomed to what you can expect from the style before you had this one. But yeah, it's a very solid, intriguing brew. And it's definitely one of the better Berliner Weisses that I've had. And that's saying something because the best ones I've had have had, you know, fruit added to it, and this doesn't. This is just like pure, like simple sour beer with a little bit of a contemporary experimental twist. And yeah, I'm very impressed with that actually. I really, really am. It's not a 10 out of 10. I wouldn't even say it's a 9 out of 10, but it's an 8 out of 10. It's just for how interesting it is. It's like one of the more intriguing beers that I've had this year. So, yeah, it's on the short list for being, you know, at least in the lower half of like my top 50, 20 beers that I've had this year. But it's clouded up a little bit more now. You can't see the light through as much. So we'll see if the flavour's changed, because it could be a completely different flavour profile now that all the yeast is added. Seems to have a little bit of a softer yet bolder body. Carbonation isn't cutting through, it's not really that thin now. It's still a thin beer. But that harshness, the sour harshness, is still there. Not as powerful as that first couple of sips, but it's still there. No flavours have really subsided. Yeah, if you love your sourdough bread, there's enough in there, you know, for you to detect that. And then it's got that subtle sweetness from the Brettanomyces that just counteracts that, so it's not completely overwhelming. But like I was saying, have a few different types of sour beer before you'd attempt this beer specifically, because it is powerful, like I was saying. Very pungent. Would go with all your great pungent cheeses, as the great Greg's Beer Reviews would say. Gorgonzola. Yeah. But yeah, lovely cheese board, European style, you know, breakfast with hams, cheeses, breads. That's the sort of thing you'd want with this one. I'm going to be having a roast dinner in a little bit. I wouldn't want to drink this with a roast dinner, because that would just be a mess on the palate. But I even like with poached eggs or something. Yeah, this is really, really nice. I'm going to stop talking now, don't worry. One last sip. Well, you're still watching. I've already given the rating, so thank you for sticking around. Yeah, I like that. But even with my lack of experience, I don't know if I'd give it a 10 out of 10. So it's an 8 out of 10, or an 8.5 at least. And a very intriguing take on the style. So if you've tried this one, then of course let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Of course, any Wild Beer Company beers that you'd recommend, let me know in the comments. Always looking for new beers to try. I've got a couple of Wild Beer Company reviews, so the playlist will be down below. Check out my Berliner Weisse review playlist as well. If any of my friends and fellow beer tubers have reviewed it, their reviews will be included. Check out, of course, Wild Beer Company and Hobbs House Brewery, bakery even. Definitely intrigued about that. I'd love to see what their actual breads taste like and if they've collaborated with any other breweries. So like I was saying at the start, this hobby always interests me. Something new always comes along and just revitalises my interest. Not that it ever dwindles, of course, but yeah, Great concept, and it's executed really, really nicely. Familiar flavours, but then it's got this like nice experimental twist to it that just puts it above a lot of the other Berliner Weisses that I've had. So yeah, 8.5 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through this rambly video as usual. And more importantly, I hope you'll join me next time for another beer review. So thank you guys for watching, and I shall hopefully see you later. Not said that for a while. Cheers, guys.